your work strikes me as quite clinical, and it's quite almost scientific in how it's you've talked a lot about wanting to reach this state of consciousness either through like quite a shamanistic act, like you were talking about with the spinning round, that kind of thing. But it's not very sentimental, your work, and I'm just wondering where, or if perhaps you'll think of trying to bring that kind of ecstasy or that kind of feeling. There's no feeling in your work, and I understand that perhaps you obliterate anything for people to kind of think, oh, where is the feeling? And then therefore the feeling being absent, people do actually think of emotion because it's emotionless, if you see what I mean. Sometimes when something isn't there, you immediately think about it because it's not there, right? Just like you don't have bodies in your work, but we still put ourselves on that. I mean, are you thinking of trying to have more of a sentimentality, like some kind of trace or something like that? You know, it's very sterile. And what you seem to talk about, you seem quite, you're talking about what we've kind of done to the, without sounding too cheesy, what we've done to the planet and our kind of destruction on Earth and this kind of thing. But your work is very, there's not that kind of, doesn't seem like any appreciation for life. You know, but it does, but that doesn't. You know, but meeting you now, you seem quite a peaceful person who quite positive, and there's not that positivity in your work.
I mean, I am unabashedly for utopianism of the future. I am all for the future, and I feel like we live in a very exciting time because we are maybe going to be able to see some things that came about from really the explosion of technology. But I don't really feel like I'm trying to eliminate all emotion from the work at all, but rather to maybe point the movement toward a place beyond what it is, what is our knowledge of the world. Sort of how, well, I guess it's like this. They say that you use 10% of your brain or something, right, for intellectual events, but the rest of your brain is being used to take care of your body. And to me, it seems like a sort of tremendous waste that we are dedicating so much of our lives to taking care of this vessel. So I am looking for maybe what is the future of the body, or the escape from the body, which is why there's never a body in the work. But I mean, it's curious to hear you say that you don't see any emotion in it. For me, I would like to leave the trace of where the body has been, and to think about where the body can go, or without the body, where we can go.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree with Fiona that it looks very clinical to me. However, the title is kind of overtly
emotional.
Yes. And I was just wondering if you could talk about that contrast or contradiction, or what you see the relationship being between the title and the visual appearance of the work itself.
Yeah. The title, as well as the drawings that the drawings that are in the book here come after building a sculpture for me, because I go through the process and then discover sort of how it fit into the scheme of things to begin with. So with the titles, I want to draw in a sense of poetics, because even though maybe whatever the processes I'm talking about is very abrupt and I suppose cold now since I've heard it, but it is a very emotional thing to consider making a break from the body. So I mean, there's like especially with maybe the one for this, the question for me of immortality, or striving for some kind of preservation of the body as though it's some amazing temple that we've used, just seems terribly, almost depressing to me. We spend so much time on this thing that is of no use to us at all. So I am looking for another feeling for it, like for Dissolver, have you guys seen any of the images of Dissolver?
Mm-hmm.
Dissolver's full title is Dissolver, the Filthy Detritus of Transmigration. And for me, like, I know that the work is austere, but at the same time, I want to hint toward where it's aiming at. So for that, it was really a question of Buddhism and the question of transmigration and substance that is whatever our existence is. So, I mean, that's where it comes in for me.
The like fluids on each table, are they all random? They're all individual? Yes. Okay, because I thought that was quite nice in the sense that, you know, talking about the absence of emotion, you're talking about the use of embalming in a lot of, you know, standard American practices of being for open casket funerals and this kind of, you know, funerals of normal time, you to think their loved ones are still okay in a way that's still complete. And then by individualising them, then it's like each body was individual on each side. So I wouldn't say necessarily that to me is a hint of emotion and, yeah, respect to the body that wasn't there, I guess. Is that right? What do you say?
Well, I've been really thinking of the process of, especially exactly what you said. There's a tremendous pressure put on the embalmer to make the person look alive again, as though there's like this one last moment where we need to make an image of the person that we used to know. So as embalming as like an image-making practice is always focused on whatever the resulting person is. But for me, this is also an image that's being made, a negative image, not negatives as in bad, but negative as in the sort of opposite of what's happening. So as so much focus is always put on the process of the body, I wanted to take it and look at the other thing, which I think is as much about what's been lost as in what's been gained. It's like the rawness of our existence is actually in the process it's really a destructive process that we are using in embalming. It's pumping out all of the lifeblood and inserting chemicals that are just toxic beyond all means. So it's like a real assault on the body, and I wanted to see like what is the thing that's the result of this, and that's like the last vestige of human life. That's the staining of the last touch that you have. The purpose of the embalmer, I think, is a really beautiful job because it's the last person to bathe the body. It used to be very like a family practice where you take your loved one and you wash them, you love them. This is the last moment where you recognize what's happening. It's an acknowledgement of death, and it's an acknowledgement of our own existence. So that has been delegated now to embalmers, which on one hand it's quite a beautiful profession in that they are taking care of this last person, but it's also very violent. So that's why I wanted to have the trace of the blood, the trace of the fluid. It's a violence that ends with our life.
Well, because a lot of the discussion in what you wrote and also in the catalogue was about the fluids being the last vestige of the body, like you've just said, and the last vestige of sort of the physical life, going down this drain. And I was interested in the fact that obviously it's important that you've made by your own hands these tables, even though to a casual viewer they may look like found objects. They are created by yourself as perfect replicas. But the drains are sourced to outsource, they're factory made, they're not made by you. So how does that, is that important to you at all? Or is that just that you, I don't know, for some reason it's really hard to make them? Or
no, actually I could have made them. There are plenty of places now where you can design something in the computer and you just send out the info and you get an object back. So for me, like that, it was really important to have the one utilitarian object be the drain and the last exit. But everything else, mostly the way that I work is everything I plan out by myself. So I did all the architectural sketching for every curve on the table, everything just the right way. Because to me it's really important that an artist be involved in this. So I do work with a fabricator, but I want my hand always in every part except for the drain, specifically for the utilitarian purpose. But the tables themselves, like they're made from fiberglass and then painted with a bathtub finish, like an epoxy finish, and that too, like that finish was important as it being a utilitarian object, and especially one that we have contact with every day. That's like a very familiar object to everyone that bathes. Yeah, that was very important to me, just to have the last bit go through an object that is so familiar to us.
And the grooves or the dots aren't actually on normal embalming tables, or are they?
Well, there's plenty of different designs from that period, but those were, for me, important. And it actually started with dissolver as I became very interested in the geometry behind a lot of artwork. Actually, you can see it everywhere. But for me, I wanted always to have this pointing towards the unknown and this desire for the unknown. And oftentimes, I mean, I'm sure you've all seen it in art history, but the pointing upwards or pointing to the axis mundi, the mountain on the earth that is pointing. It's the division between what is known here and what is known somewhere else. So while it does serve a purpose, like it would hold the body on, like as a grip, it's also just the lines that are